Hello, everybody. I'm going to go and see. I think we should be live. Let me see here. I'm trying to figure this out. Setting up live stream. 2, 1, go. It looks like we are live. Excellent. Unfortunately, I don't have Annie this morning, so I'm going to try to get through this without her. I'm setting up my camera and setting up um, my microphone and all this stuff that Annie does for me every week. And so now I'm just like spinning all my wheels trying to keep up with this and have everything ready to go. So I hope, I look okay. I didn't get makeup, none of that stuff. I mean, all of those things that she was going to do, but I might be having her pop on. She says she's going to try. Good morning, Diana. How you doing? Annie says okay, that she might try to jump on. And if she does, thumbs up to her. Apparently it was not a good morning for Annie. So I always suggest sending out some prayers for that young lady because I know she's got a tough way to go with that pain that she has in her back and everything. So today, one thing I always like to do. Let's start with the Bible verses, right? What I love today, it's Jeremiah. It's kind of interesting because I take walks, with my pastor a couple times a week, and I'm trying to get him to speed walk a little bit with me, and get him up to a jog, and but while we're doing this, we talk, and he hears of I've just had so much crap in the last year. Come on, how many of us haven't with COVID and all the things that have happened? And but he's just like, Daryl, you just need to dive into Jeremiah. And sure enough, today we get a verse from Jeremiah, and it says, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." Jeremiah 29:13. And how often do we truly just dive in to see God, know that He is there? Knock on the door, and he's there waiting. People just find him. It's the truest comfort that you're going to find in anything when you're looking for it, and nobody can do it for you. The choice is yours, and that's one of the things with health as well. The choice is yours. And so that's kind of where we are. So Diana, good morning. Indy Paulus, good morning. I'm hoping, it's hard for me to kind of keep up with this thing and do the things that we do here, because Annie usually keeps an eye on this type of stuff. If I drag down, I can see. Let me see here. Da, da, da. So we have a whopping 4 people who are on this morning, and so we're just going to kind of go with that. I can see at least see the live chat. Good morning, Jackie, and go from there. One of the things, so I was trying to come up with a message today, and I think I just called it, what did I call today's show? Like a reset. Let's push a reset button. How do you restore, or how do you get back on track and find that aspects of stability and restoration, and so bouncing back is just like an incredible thing to try to do, and sometimes we can feel like we're at a point where this is just too much. I don't know that I can bounce back. What are the limits? What are the possibilities? Um, I get these wake up calls every now and then, and unfortunately, this week has been one of those challenging weeks. And when you have somebody's life in your hands, it you can let it stress you out, or you can just say, "Okay, God, why is He here? How can You help me through this? How can we, get this person, back to something functional?" And the other, in your heart, to me, it's like, don't let them die on my watch, right? What's going on here? And so I just had a gentleman this week who was just incredibly sick, jaundice. He was fully yellow, wheelchair bound because he has no strength to get up and go. He was stage 4 cancer. About less Just a few weeks ago, he's been being treated for cancer traditionally for over a couple of years, and last month they told him to do radiation, and so the man. They told him they wanted him to do 10 treatments. After number 6, he was becoming so weak and breaking down and everything. And they're like, "Oh, not going to work. Sorry, we can't do anything for you. Go home and get hospice." And then he finds me, and they have to bring him in on a wheelchair. He doesn't even have the strength to sit up in the wheelchair during a consultation. The man has to lay down. He, like I said, he's yellow. I could turn around and his numbers are just crap. His urine was brownish black. Everything, when you do a urinary analysis, he had white blood cells, he had blood, he had bilirubin, he had protein, he had ketones. His body, he is just breaking down, period, you know. And so, what do you do? You know, how, do you detox? Seriously? You know, I'm not here to give false hope. You know, all I can do is recognize the basic mechanisms of the body and looking at those numbers and say, oh my, these numbers are completely congruent with everything that you have going on, and your body's in a breakdown state. What do we do? You have to get more energy from your food than you're consuming, and you're in a body that's just consuming itself. And so that for me, it's a real wake up call. It's like, okay, I mean, these people drove a long distance. They are staying in hotels. They are doing whatever it takes. And I'm like, okay, first thing is, plus he was on high amounts of pain medications, 4 times a day, taking, oxycodone type, the things just to control his pain, control for where he was. And so what do we do? Go by the numbers. It's all I could do is go by the numbers. When you're looking at the man's sugar to salt ratio, I've talked about cancer states where you're just not able to assimilate the nutrients, and your sugar to salt ratio gets low, like 1 to 2, 1 to 3, in that sugar to salt ratio. And he was right there, 1 to 3. His bricks like 5.4, and his, I think his conductivity was like 12 and a half. It's like, okay, he's not assimilating nutrients. Well, let's give him some colloidal minerals, just liquid colloidal minerals. There's a product I've talked about, TJ Clark's. I've talked about the humic and fulvic minerals, and I chose to give him the TJ Clark's. When you look at those numbers and the acidity of where he was, Kerry Reams told us he's extremely calcium deficient. He is sucking the calcium from his body just to help with the stress and rebuilding. Well, guess what? He has lytic lesions in his lower spine. They're showing that his spine is falling apart, and they're saying, "Hey, you've got metastasis because it's the bone there is falling apart, and it's just sucking the calcium right out of his body, and that's causing this chronic pain on the lower extremities and where all the nerves come from that section and whatever else." So we gave him calcium, lime water. Lime water is something I rarely use. We gave him Mincol, as long as he's able to keep something down, which is very little right now. And so do you give him all those other trace minerals? I mean, no, I'm not going to load this guy up with here, walk away with a bunch of supplements that you can barely eat, yet alone shove these pills down your throat. And so this is me just telling you what's going through my mind with dealing with such a poor health person. Does he need vitamin C? Heck yeah, but can you give it to him? No. So gave him some trace minerals, but his what's up is his nitrates. He's breaking down. His nitrates were like 7/12. And so high amounts, and so he's and his heart is in near atrial fibrillation. It's running. His heart rate's running about 105, and his breath rate was probably about 18 to 20. So what's he doing? He's trying to blow off the acid, blow off that carbon dioxide, and his heart, because of the lack of oxygen, is just going in there just to try to keep him going. And that's all associated with minerals. So when you have those high nitrates, we gave him magnesium. And so let's give you some magnesium, but his bowels aren't moving. Why? Because he's on narcotics. So that magnesium will hopefully help. And so we gave him a little bit of other magnesium that's called magnesium 07, an oxygenating magnesium, just to liquefy his bowels and just try to get things going. We tried. I lowered up and picked him up and helped him get in and out of the hyperbaric chamber one day, and he got out, and it was tremendously pain relieving to the man. But also in the first 24 hours, they came back to do the hyperbaric chamber, and they said he didn't need his pain med since yesterday. Holy cow! We ran his numbers. Still crap, acid over acid, but bricks came down. Sugar to salt ratio went up. That's a good sign, right? Nitrates are still crap, still breaking down, but in his urine, the blood was gone in his urine. The protein had reduced in his urine. The ketones were gone in his urine. So all of a sudden, the breakdown is slowing down. Huh, good thing. What do we do? Is he pooping on his own? No. So I'm like, he's got to poop. He's got to poop, And they've been using like glycerin suppository. So he used one that day. We started that magnesium '07, and then yesterday they came in and we and turned around and they're like, he pooped this morning. They said it was this black, sticky grossness. I'm like, that's awesome. Because the colon is going to be shedding off stuff, and with the radiation damage and whatever else, get that crap out. It's the only way. You got to lower the load on the body. So there's a man out there that's really sick in Pittsburgh. I don't give out names. I don't want to give out any more than what I said. What he has in a bad place is his eyes are actually getting a little bit lighter. He's got to realize this guy's completely jaundiced. He's yellow. So but his eyes are getting a little bit lighter. It's clearing. So yeah, I'm giving liver support. I've got him on liver herbals. I started him also on Shankropedra yesterday. He's always bloated, so I said if he's gonna eat, he's still able to swallow pills. Just have him swallow a digestive enzyme with it, because he does not have the capacity to break it down, just to help his body out in this horrible time of need. you know just not in a good place, people. So there's a man that's coming through here, and all prayer is appreciated. I just hope that he makes it through this weekend, and that we just keep seeing some positives. And I wish I'd seen him 2 months ago. And so where is the thing that I'm trying to focus in on is how do you get back into a state to restore? How do you bounce back from something that debilitating? How do you just reset? Press the reset button. Don't we wish we had one? Boom. Cancer. Boom. Okay, let's reset this. How do we get this to turn off and go in a different direction? And so that's what I told them right now. All we can do is do what we're able to do and hope that his body can handle and do the reset. So let me see. Daniel, good morning. Lauren Jones, good morning. Leah, good morning. Red Label, good morning. Marty D, good morning. I don't know if Andy tried to get on. She hasn't texted me that she's tried to. I sent her the Zoom link, and so, but I'm not. I didn't get a notification, and I don't want to change my screen and see whether Annie's out, trying to or not, because I might lose something, and I might lose talking to you guys and whatever else, because this is Annie's thing, not mine. Let me see. Jack Dimp, that's a new name. Apple cider vinegar with the mother's shake or not shake before use. Getting different answers. What about apple cider vinegar? I mean, apple cider vinegar, there's some benefits. Carrie Reams, at least from the mouth of Betty Reams, is that Dr. Reams was an advocate of apple cider vinegar for mobilizing calciums within the body. And if that's what it actually does, if it actually turns around, it's comparable to what we consider, where people are telling you to take vitamin K2. Don't let that calcium clog up your arteries. Take K2. It keeps it mobile. It keeps it from binding up. It helps you to utilize that calcium more effectively. And that's what Betty Reams described her father as saying about apple cider vinegar, is that it will mobilize these calciums, and which kind of makes sense, because most of the calciums that people are depositing in their tissues are typically alkaline forming calciums, but their bodies, with the inability to use it, they're depositing these things. And if they start mobilizing these things, they become more alkaline, and they're saying apple cider vinegar is alkalizing. And I think if it is alkalizing, it would be because of that mobilization of calciums, and not just, hey, let me drink vinegar to make myself alkaline. because the only thing that's really considered like, hey, I'm taking something that's seemingly acidic that makes me alkaline, that's 100% anionic in nature, is lemons. And we could do a show on lemons. So, but apple cider vinegar, I have seen it help people tremendously, particularly if you have high pHs. If you are in that BC range, apple cider vinegar is going to do you wonders. Before your meals, some people do a tablespoon and a little bit of water, 15 to 30 minutes before they eat. Definitely something to consider. It definitely can have some positive benefits. As far as going through the book written by Braggs, and that it has all these miraculous things, but there is seemingly a generalized alkalinization that people are getting from it. But particularly with the digestive aspects, that apple cider vinegar seems to help with the processing of things through the saliva and the digestion and those and helping you to utilize what you're getting a little bit more effectively. So I'm not Reams. I'm not fully can't mathematically explain what it's doing in you. But if you're in the BC range, and you are turning around and you tend to have that, particularly that alkaline saliva pH, where you need to flush out your liver, we use things like malic acid found in cherry juice and apple juice, and we use these things to soften and break down stones that are found in the digestive or in the liver, and to help you to flush that stuff out. And whether something like the acids found, and because the acetic acid found in vinegar alone, does have some effects. I just I'm not fully aware from an electrochemical standpoint of what all that apple cider vinegar is doing, but I do directly see benefits again in those BC diet people. Let's see. If he wasn't at a point of no return, there is hope. Yes, I agree, Jackie. That's I'm not here to place false hope. It's the last thing I want to do to people. Be like, oh yeah, let's jump on the bandwagon. We're gonna do this therapy, and we're gonna get you better. It's just not a promise that I can make. Mine is we have to pray that we get through this and that we see basics occur. And I don't know if the radiation that they did to your intestines fried it, and if it's ever going to work appropriately again. All I could do is watch and measure and see if we see a change. I could pop his blood up on that microscope right behind me. I have his dry layer blood, and where you look at dry layers of blood, and when you see all these white spots associated with what's called polymerized protein puddles, and there are people in the United States that teach, and they call the dry layers, they call it the pathology determination test. Then they say with 97% accuracy, you can tell if somebody has cancer. Because if you see that man's blood, it's consistent with all the markers that say that you got cancer. White patches everywhere. Inside the white patches, there's destroyed cells that are inside there. There's red blood cells inside there that show inflammation. I mean, it's not a good picture right now. But hope, I hope we never lose hope. You know, hoping for hope. I like that. Let's see, Luke. Hi, hello, Luke. Let's see, Indy. After I was on a keto for a few weeks, my body and mind went into overdrive so much I felt it immensely. Was on a carb, wheat, sugar diet for many years, and then the switch. Well, when you go and you switch like that, you're changing the fat availability in your body, and everything in your body is about equilibrium. Sharing and being in equal concentrations. And when you drive those fats up in the blood, then the fat soluble toxins that are in the cells say, hey, I can go out of these cells because there's some available media for me to go. And so people kind of dump and they really detox on that keto diet. And and then they start and especially as they start breaking down the fat. So there's this thing called the keto flu, which I just think is a fat detox. But for long term, that keto diet is not going to do you favors. Short term, up to about 3 months, and you want to lose some weight, and if you monitor and you are taking some minerals, I have seen keto do wonders for people. And then go into a modified diet where, because most of the time you increase your metabolic activity in to the DE range, because most people all of a sudden become a little bit acidic with that, and they need those fats and proteins to maintain that. And so you end up on more of a paleo, a mixture between a paleo and a uh, Mediterranean diet. Lots of veggies, getting those healthy oils, avocado, all of the monounsaturated fats. Eating those meats, but not as much as what you necessarily were eating before. You can eat too much meat on a keto diet and keep yourself out of ketosis. A true keto diet is 90% fat, people. A modified keto diet is 80% fat, with about that last 20% being about 12% protein and 8% carb. A little hard to do, but those low glycemic veggies are mandated. You got to do them so you still poop and get that digestive tract to become healthy. Let me see what else we got. Prayers that you can help this man and his suffering will decrease. Thank you. So much appreciated. What can the eyes tell us? Oh my God, that you're opening up a whole new show about the eyes. When you're looking at what you can visibly see on people in observation, the eyes, the tongue, even why is a doctor every now and then? Let me look up in your nasal passageways and get up in there and take a peek and look at the sinuses and the passageways and looking for ear inflammation. Well, the eyes, the blood vessels, Reams taught sclerology or scleral charts, and so I'll show you here. So, I'm going to keep one right here. There's a couple of charts that you'll see that people consistently use, and but before I do, I'm getting a drink of my coffee. So, one is iridology. And so people, Bernard Jensen taught iridology, where they go through and and he was looking at the patterns of the nerves within the eyes, the not the sclera, not the whites of the eyes, but the iris. And you can get really close, and you can look at the nerve fibers, and outside the pupil is the stomach area, and then right outside between the pupil and that next layer that that it describes like the digestive tract. And on the outside, if you see black pockets, you can see people have diverticulitis, and then the long fibers that come away from that second layer are associated with various organ systems. And so they have these things that outline and turn around and say, hey, all of these various areas of the body are directly associated with the right or the left eye, and helping people to try to say, hey, based upon where these nerve fibers are broken in your eye, it is suggesting areas of the body. Okay, so is there merit to it? Some. Is it a complete science? No, because unfortunately, when they did testing, Bernard Jensen himself analyzing things, they showed inconsistencies with it, and that it wasn't a fully reliable science. However, definitely gives input. There's definitely people who can pick up. Hey, there's really, you can see, that the stomach area is irritated. I always look and see, large and small intestines. I confirm if people have diverticulitis, you can see that there's a thing called a lymphatic rosary that can be on the outside of the iris, and that's consistent with the lymphatic congestion. There's things called nerve rings that appear when people are highly stressed, and they get these round concentric circles in the outer part of the iris, and you'll see it in the numbers. It'll correlate with it. There's a thing called arcus senilis. It's a blue hue that goes around the iris, and that's associated with age. You'll see that in older people. And so then you have sclerology, and sclerology is where we're looking at patterns of the scleras. And what happened was is Dr. Reams turned around and he taught sclerology, where you have zones and around the eye, the left or right. Each one of those zones, he would outline by a number, and then where the blood vessels are running horizontal in that number area is consistent with that area being challenged, and where they're running vertical in that area, it's a sign where they're inflaming and they're not able to get rid of their dead cells. He said that they were holding on to their delta and omega cells, and they weren't able to detoxify, and that's where he could turn around and look at the scleral patterns, look at the cell debris, look at the numbers, and he could predict by learning the scleral patterns when things were going to happen. It would correlate with how his ability to determine the rate of breakdown or whatever else. He said, well, based upon this, at this energy level, your numbers will be here, and your eye pattern suggests this. Boom, this is when it's going to happen. And the man was amazing at how he could predict those things. And so, like I had, uh, oh, I just went blank. Hmm. Nope, can't remember his name. But I've had I've had people who have talked about various things in the eye patterns and stuff on my shows in the long term past. Um, but very few people that I know in RBTI, they kind of look at the scleral patterns, but I don't know anybody who teaches sclerology to the point of what Reams would apply it. I've heard of people who are teaching it, but uh, I'm just not there. So let me see before I lose this. People, Annie sent a notification. Annie sent me a notification. Maybe auto. Okay, let me see. I can't. I'm losing the board here. Here we go. Hold on. See, I just changed. Let's see. Hi all. Andy, Marsha, good morning. Jackie, crying now because I knew nothing of RBTI or natural medicine when my mom was stage 4. I began waking up though through that experience, but unfortunately we lost her. I'm sorry. Um, Prayers that you can help this man. Thank you. What do the eyes tell us getting there? I missed the numbers. Did you show us the board? No, I didn't show the numbers on the board today. I haven't gone to do that yet. Annie sent me a notification, maybe auto. That I don't know about because the notification I would be is through Zoom. And if I do this, I'm going to lose you guys for a minute. Let me see if she did that. Do that. No, she did not send me a notification. And so let me get right back in here so I can have the right screens in front of me. Let me see what else we have. Um, Luke, I missed the numbers. Annie sent me I take lemon and apple cider vinegar separately. I would too. I typically do the lemon at the end of the meals to disperse and stimulate. If people are doing apple cider vinegar, I'll have it do it before. You know, even as little as 10 minutes before. How important is boron in mobilizing calcium? Boron is boy, you guys really are going into some areas of talking about boron's a whole subject in itself. Boron can help with the brain. Boron helps with calcium utilization, calcium getting into the bones. As far as mobilizing, again, I don't have a way of directly measuring it. I do a hair analysis probably about once a year in everybody, and for those trace elements like boron and chromium and vanadium and some of these ones, even zinc and selenium, and just getting an idea of how those levels, if they're coming up to measurable amounts, just like you would test the soil. And boron is something that I don't use as often as I probably should. Because sometimes you feel like, hey, let's take a little bit of this, let's take a little bit of that, and you have them here, take this 1 copper a day because you're taking so much zinc per day. Take this molybdenum because you definitely have something going on with your sulfur pathways and skin disorders, and when I turn around and I'm adding here, let's take 1 chromium a day, 1 vanadium a day because of your um, poor sugar utilization and your diabetic tendencies, and your hair analysis shows that they're low, then that's what it kind of does and helps. Like I have this other lady that I've been helping, and as in June, her average blood sugars, because she's on a monitored pump that keeps an idea, her averages were about 264. This month, and every month it's been coming down. Now she's down to 144, and she's lost 30 pounds in 6 months. And her doctors are like, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it, honey. They didn't even ask what she's doing. Whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. Look good. All of her blood work's gone normal for the first time in years. Her hemoglobin A1C is coming down. I mean, and they just, whatever you're doing, just keep doing it. seriously, you know, if you were a doctor, wouldn't you want to know what they were doing? Wouldn't you want to say, can I apply this to somebody else? Anyway, let's see what else we have here. Um, So it's okay to take apple cider vinegar on a daily to break down stores of calcium in the BC diet, people. Great to know. Definitely is. Definitely. Apple cider vinegar can just help you with utilizing calcium. It's kind of like a vitamin K2 is the way I understand it. And in some people, even if they are acidic and in the DE range, um, because they have such weakness of the bile that apple cider vinegar can sometimes help. And so, again, test it. Watch the numbers and see how you respond to it. If you're mobilizing and you become more alkaline because of it, by all means, use it. But I haven't seen that doing apple cider vinegar, just directly with before meals in somebody who's acidic helps them to digest better. Some I see that it gives them heartburn. And so many times you will see that lack of acid causes a lot of the symptoms of too much acid in the digestive tract, and that's a whole other subject again. Wow, we got a lot of tangents. You got taking notes so we can write down shows for the future here. Let's see. Can we see the dry blood, and would you walk us through reading that blood? I mean, I can show it to you. Give me 30 seconds. I'm more than happy to accommodate that. I have it. I think it's up there right now. Let's see. Bum, bum, bum. See if this is still his. Yep. This is. No, this is not his. This is his here. So when you're looking at dry blood, so here, see that? And I hope you guys can see this. Let me turn that camera a little bit. So when you're looking at the dry blood, a healthy blood is all of this black. It's and everything's red. There's no white. So you look at his blood, it's just totally falling apart. And then when you zoom in and you see like inside these things called polymerized protein puddles, and we zoom and we go into them a little bit closer. The closer you get, what do you see? You see cell destruction, and you see stuff inside there. If they're gonna be white, they should be clear. You do not want to see. So every time you see, that's just a more of a destructive process going on. So when you look at this man's blood, all we see, and if I zoom out as much as I can to kind of get an idea here. Oh, there we go, so we can see a larger picture of the blood. You can see we go through, and every time you go through each layer, you should see, it getting more and more concise and not seeing large polarized protein puddles all the way through it. And you just go through and just look. The man is just falling apart. And when you're looking at dry blood, each from the center outward, you look at it from a concentric rings, and each ring represents different areas of the body. And so, like right here is in the liver, the digestive tract, like the lower part of the colon, and then you get out here, and this is all lymphatics, you know, and his lymphatics, and then you see the outskirts, and when it falls apart on the outside, that's a sign of vitamin C deficiency. And you go through here, and you go through, look at all of his layers. The man is just, holes through every layer, just chronic inflammation pattern. And so, dry blood. There's a guy out in where is it? In Italy, who is teaching to look at dry blood, and then using functional medicine based upon dry blood observations. And he's becoming known worldwide for, hey, come to me and let's get cured of anything. And because the blood is your life. Blood gives identification of what's going on in you, and not just the dry blood. Dry blood people look as reading tea leaves and being hocus pocus. But I've had some amazing things pop up based upon what that suggests. I give my merit based on the live blood, and if you look at that man's live blood, which I don't think that I have the slide over there anymore. It was again just hot. It was anemic. Lack of red blood cells, abnormally shaped red blood cells showing tremendous amount of oxidation. White blood cells just all out of control. Just like I'm fighting the best that I possibly can. And then mineral deficiencies. The size of his red blood cells were near the size of his white blood cells, showing extreme B12 folic acid deficiency. He had he had target cells that are consistent with liver stress. He had fibrin spindles with liver stress. He had platelets with inflammation. It's just like, dude, you're a what do you say to somebody? You're a hot mess when they already know it. Now, if I had you know, uh, somebody younger and plenty of time to kind of restore and just feeling like crap all the time, I say, God, you're a hot mess. Ready to do something about it? But when you have somebody that's like, I hope I can get you through the week, I'm not going to say that. What do we say? Do I say we're going to get you through it? We're going to get you there? I can't make promises. All I could do is say, let's look at these numbers and let's do the things that make sense, that will support you. And in the meantime, you need real food. Here's the foods to choose from. Make smoothies, blend them up, sip on them, get these trace minerals in you. Drink distilled water. Drink distilled water. Drink distilled water. Flush this stuff. Flush this stuff. So the first day he was at 5.4. The second day he was at 4.2. The third day he was at 3.4. On his bricks. Just keeps coming down. Then as the bricks was coming down, the salt ratio was going up. It was like 5 to 12.5, and then it was like 4 to like 15, and then it was like 3 point something. I mean, somewhere around the same, around 15. But the sugars were coming down and the salts are maintaining themselves. So we're starting to try to get the energy where it needs to be, to transmit the energy while we're trying to bring them back into a focused oxygen state. So let me see what else we got here. Marcia, can we see it? Yes, I hope that helped. Luke, can we also use apple cider vinegar for extra potassium to aid birthing and pregnant use? I don't know. I'm not a specialist in birthing pregnant use. You know, um, that you can look at the urine and run numbers on an animal. And Ream says that these numbers are appropriate for biological life. So I have a couple dogs that I am helping clients just support, and it's amazing. They respond. But when you have a thing that says, okay, how do I change this in a dog? Because a dog's not going to swallow this, or you're not going to get them to do this. It's basically kind of an experimentation with them. And I tell them that I'm like, I'm not a vet, but when we're going by the numbers and we're changing the foods and we're observing what the foods are doing with their dog, guess what? Their dog is doing good. Something's there. By the way, speaking of dogs, guess what just came out? Canine telemetry. Hey, we finally we just got inventory with the canine product, with the dog product for people. We are developed right now. We haven't quite finished the presentation for how we're going to put it on the website. Those of you who are on the email list, either through Vitalometry, where you possibly ordered it in the past, or if you're on our office email, where you can go to Pittsburgh Alternative Health and just, on the front you'll see, or go to Doc Misak. You go to docmisak.com and you'll see subscribe and you'll get on our email list. We're going to send out, an introductory special and say, hey, try this out, and again, it's a product that changed my dog's life. My dog had cataracts, was getting senile, was peeing because she couldn't hold her bladder. She was falling down the steps because she couldn't make it up them. And she was about 13, and I had just made the vitalometry, and so I just took the herbs, the same thing that I mixed in vitalometry, and I took the Ziploc baggie and I started pouring ratios of it, and then I started sprinkling it over her food with collagen so she would eat it, and she lapped it up. Oh my God, she licked that bowl clean. And in less than a week, my dog was playing like a puppy and was going up and down the stairs again, and was telling us and walking to the door saying, I got to go to the bathroom.
Although she'd go out the door, get right off the porch, and bam, gotta go, But she was able to control it, and we got 2 more years out of that dog, out of this mixture. And so I started, I've mixed it up. I've given it to a couple other people, and Annie will tell you the same thing. Her dog plays like a puppy again. And so it's out. We're going to be probably by next Saturday is going to be the opening sale for it, because right now we're just making sure everything's ready on the internet to work through it. So it's going to be canine telemetry, people. We'll put it. It'll be through the Vitalometry website. It'll be through. You'll get introductory specials, and so we're just gonna, hopefully help some animals out here. But in regards to pregnant ewes, I don't know. For potassium, there's a lot of other things. If you want to sprinkle something on their food, give them moringa, great potassium source. If they ate avocados, I tell you to give them avocados. But there's so many things. Even potatoes and tomatoes, although they're nightshades, have a high potassium content. So I try to encourage people to use potassium-rich foods on a regular basis. Those of you who like lima beans, apricots, coconut milk, or coconut water, loaded. For those of you who are crashing, drink coconut water. Wonderful for getting your potassium levels up. So um, let's see. I would like to see the blood with analysis also. Okay, just I hope that helped. It's kind of a totally cool thing. Live blood is done. We've done a show. I did a show quite some time ago with Annie, and we did Annie's blood. We put it up there, and you guys pricked her finger. You saw me put it up. I kind of talked about the blood a little bit, and we walked through, and we kind of did that whole process going through with Annie. And Annie's like, Doc, I just need to do that again. Can we go back? And she's like, I got to get back on track. And so like today, the goal was, how to hit reset, how to rebound, how to get up and go, how to do some basic things to what are the basic aspects of where we need to go with things. Um, Hold on. I love to drink my coffee while it's hot. It's starting to get cold, people. But bottom line, you got to think about food. You got to think about movement and walking. You got to get adequate rest. I tell people unplug. Where's that phone? Give me a second. Oh, got a message. Hold on. I mean, how did you feel? I mean, do you take it personal? Is it rude? Uh, is it affecting you? What about electromagnetic fields? Keep that thing at least a couple feet away from you, if not further. Don't carry it on you. Don't hold it to your ear if you can. You know, um, so unplug. That you're emitting a frequency with that continuously, and you are frequency. And if it's not a man-made frequency, and if it's out of tune with resonance of the human body called mortal oscillatory rates that I talked about a couple weeks ago or last week with Royal Rife, and how Lavotsky is using multi waves to stimulate resonance aspect in the body. Does 5G and all this stuff affect you? Let me see here. I'm going to go onto my phone for 10 seconds, and I'm going to go to settings, and I'm going to go to Wi-Fi. And like, oh my God, look, people, there's 15 networks right there that I can pick up on that are locked. So all these buildings and these people from uh, above and below me, their Wi-Fi signals is able to be picked up right here on my phone, even though it's secure. How many are on your phone right now? Those are all different frequencies that are coming through you. Unplug. You know, how about just resisting temptation? How do you do that? How do you find getting in a pathway of resetting yourself and getting into a new habit? Because it can go great for 1, 3 days, 5 days, but usually they show in order to create a habit, it's 40 days, about 6 weeks before something that you're doing that all of a sudden, like, yep, this is who I am. And so it's easy to get RBTI started. And Reem says, hey, you get started and then you stop it. Whatever you had is going to come back like wildfire. And I don't know how many people I've seen who they start feeling incredible. Oh my God, I can feel like this again. And then because they're feeling good, I don't need to take those supplements today. Ah, yeah, I'll go out with you. I feel good. All that digestive stuff's gone. Hey, you want pizza and beer? I'm up. You know? Then, oh, well, it wasn't too bad. Right back in that bad cycle of where you were. How do you resist? How do we resist? How many of us sin? You know, in Genesis chapter 8, I believe, God, where he wants to destroy mankind, God says that from birth, that there's evil that comes from within us. Wow, isn't that scary? It's really sad, actually. Why couldn't it be the other way, where we just inherently want the good and do the good, and the evil is the thing that we kind of like, that doesn't do me anything. God doesn't weigh our sins in some capacity except blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. Otherwise, which sin's greater? One Ten Commandment worse than the other? What's your moral compass? Do you sin? God's grace is sufficient, right? So I don't know where I'm going on this. Let's go back to your list. I have found some foot detoxes move out toxins twice as fast as alum tox. I would think that could be harmful to the right person. What do you think? Um, Move out tox twice as fast as alum tox. Okay. I don't know which ones. I mean, the whole idea is that when you're doing a foot detox, you're using, um, you know, electrical currents and ions to increase that potential for um, stimulating the body to start its own detoxification from internal out. And so, can it be harmful to detox too fast? Look at the chemistry and see if you can handle it. What's the saliva pH? What is the urine pH? Are you already acidic? Is the saliva pH already way too high and at 6.8, 7.0, and your body's already congested and can't handle the aspect of mobilizing a load? Are your nitrates already flipped? Are you 6/8, 6/9, where you're already breaking down stuff and you're not efficiently breaking down? I go by what those numbers tell me, and as those numbers start falling into a healthy pattern, yeah, now I'll detox you. And so the aspects of something detoxing more than something else could be based upon the efficiency and the ability of the body to detox in the first place. So I don't know. That's not something I know that the alum tox works. If there's one that's better than the other, send me information on it. I'm happy to look at it. Let me see what else we have. Got info from Pat Colby, Aussie vet, natural sheep care regarding apple cider vinegar. Excellent. I didn't know that. Great info. Thank you for sharing. Natural sheep care. That's good. Um, what colonic product name do you, Doc, and Annie use? I don't use a colonic product per se. We have a colon hydrotherapy equipment and device called Libby. Libby stands for lower intestinal bottom bowel evacuation. You know, so so equipment or something like that. But what you're trying to do with colonics is clean out the lower colon. Go back to the Dead Sea Scrolls. Go Google Dead Sea Scrolls and colon cleansing. Because the Dead Sea Scrolls talks about pulling a gourd, hooking up a hose to it, hanging it in a tree, filling it with water, shoving it up your rear end, and flushing out the impurities in order to restore health. 2,000 plus years ago. Go look up colon hydrotherapy and Egyptian hieroglyphics. And there's Egyptian hieroglyphics showing that the Pharaoh had an official enema giver. You know, we have been doing enemas since the times of the Egyptians and Babylonians, and flushing out the colon and cleansing it, and finding that it's beneficial, and seeing a link between the health of the gastrointestinal tract and our overall health. And Dr. Kerry Reams talked about doing colonics too. He didn't talk about doing ionic foot baths. He didn't talk about infrared sauna. He didn't talk about, hyperbaric chambers, because a lot of them weren't used, or he didn't know about them. He wasn't a naturopathic doctor. He was a mathematical scientific genius. And he found something that somebody suggested. What did he do? He tested it. You're telling me that that'll do this? Let's do it. Let's measure it. Let's do it again. Hmm. Let's make observation of what happens. Let's record it. Let's write it down. Let's keep track of it. Let's measure it. Let's write it down. Let's record it. Let's watch a pattern. That's all I'm telling you to do. Use those numbers to know whether these things are right or not for you. So, colonic product. For colon, it varies. Like that gentleman that's so sick. I mixed him in herbal, with schisandra and burdock and milk thistle and artichoke. Doesn't taste good. Did an alcohol extract, so I had him put it in a little bit of water. And then later on, I had him add Shankropedra from, for again liver and kidney protection, just to get everything to move and just to help the stress that's on the poor man's body. That's what herbs do. They fortify, they tonify, they enable, they enhance. But you shouldn't have to take them for the rest of your life. The idea is to bring the body back up to full speed by giving it the right fuel and restoring and rebuilding through the mineralization of what you're giving them and flushing out that waste. So, where can we get a hold of the charts, Marcia? I don't know what charts. If you're looking for eye scleral charts, I think Brixman. I think Rex Harrell has them listed on his historical. Rex Harrell is probably the RBTI librarian. And I think it's Brixman, BRIXMAN.com. Go to Brixman, and I guarantee you he's got scleral charts on there. And then he'll show you the Paul. We had Paul Bradford on our show once, and he talked about people having a hiatal hernia, and he says if you see in zone 31 to 33 in somebody's eye, and you see that there's horizontal and congestion in 31 to 33, they're going to have a hiatal hernia. And he showed me a hiatal hernia maneuver that he walks down on the stomach and then he pops out to reset it, and he has people push the stomach down for at least 15 times, 3 times a day for 10 days to correct it, and he says it'll do wonders for people. And so but you get that. If you want the scleral charts, go to Brixman. And I know that there's people out there that still teach sclerology, and I probably will take a class. I have an iridology camera, and you guys can buy these online. They're not expensive. They're about $40. You take this little camera. It's got a little button on there. You put it over your eye. Open up your eye. Click. Take a picture, and then it puts it on your computer, and then it comes with a program that'll drop the eye with an iridology camera chart behind it. Cheap way to look at it and say, is there a problem? My goal with that was to take pictures of people because you can see the whites of the eye, the sclera as well. And every time somebody came in, hey, let me take a picture of your eyes. I'm just going to keep it in your chart and date it. And so I can start watching and see and learn it and teach myself. Unfortunately, I had a problem with it interacting with the computer and the printer, and so we never got that working the way that I wanted to. And so, but for me, it's observation. It's an observational science that turns around and says, hey, when this is here, you see that. And so, so I could turn around, and if I could start getting that done, and I have a basic checklist, and every time somebody would come in, hey, check if you're having any of these symptoms. And if I start seeing patterns, then I could turn around and say, okay, this is what Reams and they taught in regards to scleral patterns, that this area is associated with this. And then I can just make a questionnaire based upon a scleral chart numbers and what it's associated with. Are you having symptoms of your gastrointestinal tract? Are you having symptoms of, X, Y, and Z that might point to the liver? And then see if those chart areas are done and recreate the science of observation, but not sit there and base every fact of what I'm going to tell somebody to do based upon something that I don't fully understand, or that I wholeheartedly would turn around and say, where have I learned this science that I can validate? It's not based on mathematics like what Reams did. So I would use it as a tool, but I wouldn't use it as my, definitive source. What else have we got here? Um, DJK, good morning, Doc. Was wondering what your overview on getting the COVID vaccine and a frontline worker in a hospital setting been staying up. Oh, why is that going up? There we go. Um, oh my God, I just lost it. There we go. With getting the COVID, I am frontline worker in the hospital setting. I have been staying up on my vitamins, minerals, and colloidal silver. Good. I am going to stay away from talking about vaccines. I'm going to stay away from talking about the political crap. I'm going to stay away from talking about censorship, but tell you that I am looking for a different platform of where that I can go and give this information, because we I know there's censorship going on, and I I will say that I will not get the vaccine, and I can say that for now. But I am not going to go on a platform and make a statement with regards to using an RNA based vaccine and the concerns of what that brings. I would tell you to go hear what Kennedy has to say about the vaccine, and just go look at the science behind the vaccine. I know that Russia proclaims to have a 99% cure for COVID with a medication that they've come out with, particularly a combination of using an existing medication that's used for rheumatoid arthritis that helps with that cytokine storm, and another one that has an antiviral, and they have a 99% cure rate. But we're not using that in our country. Um, no vaccines, Q plus 2020, like that. But I'm not going to take and make a statement with regards to that. But I'm glad you're speaking out. Um, what is that book you have that relates mineral salts to the zodiac signs? Oh my God. It wasn't zodiac signs per se, but there's one that it was minerals and DNA is the one that I was talking about, and I can't think of the title of it right now, but I do have it. It's a Oh, maybe last week, I was talking about it wasn't zodiac signs, but it was showing in relation to minerals and sound frequency and intonation of notes and solfeggio frequencies and light, and it's all energy based. And it's a book from the 1920s, and I have a list of the editor back there, but getting a copy of the book, I have it. I have where I got somebody gave me a photocopy of this book, and I do not know where you would ever find it again. Um, let's see. I'm going to read through these. It's about time to be over, guys. Let's see. How do you write out your numbers when I finally get some to share? It's always just go look at the perfect equation. It's Brix, pH of the urine, pH of the saliva, conductivity, cell debris, nitrates, which is the blue, over ammonia nitrates, which is the yellow. And it's always written out the same way. Read any of my articles, go to Doc Misak, go down, and it's mentioned in there. Biggleston Brothers Holographic Blood is a good study on amazing things that can be seen in the blood. Wow, Jackie, if you could send me that link in an email, I'd appreciate that one. I have not seen that. My dad's doctor said that the white matter in his brain is growing. What is the white matter and what can he do? White matter is showing that there are plaques and that there's a breakdown that's associated with inflammation and sclerosing, Alzheimer's, MS, ALS, all that crap. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. At this point in time, we're going to have to talk about that, bring that up next week. But it's the same thing we always do. You stop the inflammation patterns. You support the body where it's needed. You give the body, like the brain needs fat. It needs essential fats, but you have to be able to utilize them. So people who are like BC diet and they're not breaking down fats very well, what do they need? Usually most people are using omega 9, not the olive and avocado oil, the monounsaturated fats, but it's shown that those concentrated saturated fats, or the omega 3s, play a role as well with the brain health. So that's another topic. I have a microscope. Been taking a couple courses in live blood. New at reading and correlating the blood. Marcia, again, if you're taking a course in live blood and dry blood, email me through our office. Give me the links. I'm looking at who I've learned from a place in the United States. I've learned from one in Europe. I'm just looking to see who else is out there teaching. Is there something else that I could learn that I could share with people? Should dogs drink distilled water? Yes. I would give your dog distilled water. Hope you're feeling well after your recent surgery, Marcia. Yep. Christine, good morning. YouTube actually notified you were live on time. Good. Good to hear that. Thanks for the lesson today. Great show. Thank you. You're welcome. Where can we get the iridology camera that you just showed? Probably eBay or Amazon. Just go and Google um, iridology camera, and you'll find a bunch of them popping up. Most of them get shipped from Japan. My surgery was put on hold. My mom fell and broke her nose. Oh, ouch! Sorry to hear that. My son just had surgery. Oh, and caregiver. It's a role to have, and hopefully well appreciated. I gotta go in here in the screen so I can get ready to close up. People, I thank you. You can see we could talk about this stuff for hours, and it just never stops. There's always stuff, and I hope that you're finding it beneficial. Thanks for tuning in. If these questions, please bring them back next week. If you think about them, if these information on live blood and people who are doing any type of educational thing on live blood or sclerology patterns or whatever, email my office. Office at pittsburghalternativehealth.com. If you go through Doc Misak, it emails the vitalometry email, but they end up giving it to me. But I prefer to go through our office email. Just let us know, people. I love to learn. If I'm giving you false information, show me where, show me what I can do to learn more. That just helps to make this more of a quality aspect. Because in reality, the only person that I want to make sure knows is you and everybody. Because if we equip you, we can change the world together. Because right now, it definitely needs change. Snowing out there already since we've been doing this show. I can see about 4 inches of snow has accumulated across the rooftop that I'm looking at. So I get to possibly go sled riding tonight. Woohoo! You guys have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Take care. God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in.